If you're just joining us, this is Heather Ripley of Orange Orchard PR, and this is Better Life for Animals. Heather, drawing from your success with major media outlets, what practical steps can sanctuaries take to increase their chances of being featured in high-profile publications or mainstream broadcasts?
The best way to do that is to start local. Make sure everybody in your local media market knows who you are and what you do. It can be as simple as emailing the news producers at your local ABC or CBS or Fox, and you tell, based on the audience, you tell a different story. We have had sanctuaries covered on conservative media and liberal media. You tell a different story and you get in. Everybody wants to talk about animals. It can be a good, really feel-good story. So if you own your local media first, that's going to give you a lot of...
Welcome to the Better Life for Animals podcast, where we amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. Through powerful stories and expert insights, we shine a light on the efforts to rescue, protect, and advocate for animals. Be sure to subscribe wherever you're watching or listening. Every follower helps us reach more people. And support animal sanctuaries. Enjoy the conversation.
Heather Ripley is the founder and CEO of Ripley PR and Orange Orchard. Orange Orchard is a public relations agency that helps animal advocacy groups and animal-friendly brands share their message with the world. With more than 20 years in public relations, Heather's built a reputation for building purpose-driven companies and help them make a real difference. Her team has worked with organizations like the Orangutan Project and earned top industry awards along the way. Heather's passionate about showing how PR can fuel growth and create positive change for animals, people, and the planet. Heather, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much.
Please tell us a bit about Ripley PR and about that time that you decided to add Orange Orchard to the mix.
Yeah, thank you. I have been, like you said, I've been in PR and marketing for about 20 years. I've worked with lots of smaller and big national brands, mostly in the skilled trades. And so my background in growing up in a blue collar home led to serving that industry. And long story short, in 2017, I was watching documentaries about animals, about animal welfare, and my now ex-husband and I went vegan overnight. We just decided we could not eat animals anymore, and over the next several months, I thought long and hard about what I was doing with my career and the company and the positive impact that I could have if I started helping animal welfare organizations. And I didn't think it made sense to try to target that audience with Ripley PR, but I still wanted to do it. So I launched Orange Orchard, which started in 2018. And it had a primary focus at the time of working with plant-based, planet-friendly brands and animals. And what I discovered after about a year is my team loves helping animals, and they kept asking, can we do more in that space? So it's kind of evolved, but we work with local sanctuaries on project basis to try to fundraise. We work with large national and international foundation groups. So I have a lot of experience with PR, and we're just taking what we've learned that works well with companies and helping nonprofits.
So how are they the same and how are they different?
That's a good question too. There's many similarities. I would say that the nonprofits that can run like a business meaning you are looking at your books daily. You're looking at what you need to pull in to, keep the business running. Um, and use professionals. A lot of nonprofits have to rely on volunteers, and I get that they're passionate, but if you have a crisis, you want an attorney. You want a professional to help you through that crisis so you don't just crash and burn and lose everything. And so they're similar in that everybody wants that big story. Everybody wants the front page of the New York Times, or they want to be talked about on Today Show. Everybody wants that, whether you're a nonprofit or you're a business. But the same strategy applies for how you get there, and that's momentum. It's getting local news coverage. It's saturating your local media, always being a source for them to talk about you, to have you in, talk about what you're doing, your mission, how you're helping animals. And then that local media then may spread regionally, or AP News could pick it up, which we've seen before, and then it becomes a national story. So everybody wants the big story, but you have to start small.
And what I'm hearing, Heather, is that when you're running a sanctuary, a PR budget is a must.
Yes, and I've talked to so many, and we do pro bono work. So it's not like we're all I have nonprofit rates and everything like that, and I know other agencies do as well. You don't need an ongoing budget unless you're really big, but it helps to have a professional at least once a year communicate a message in a very professional way, use their media contacts, and take advantage of that. But to do that, you probably need some kind of fundraising campaign specifically for that. So you raise money to build awareness, and it pays off because the more people that know about you, the more people can donate.
That's interesting. So what I'm hearing is at least once a year, you need the help of a professional, and that professional's whatever they require will be paid for and then some.
Yeah, and when you talk to the professional, you can ask, what are some ideas for me to raise this money so that I can do this? Because everybody, there's PR agencies everywhere, and a lot of them have pro bono clients that they work with, they're passionate about. I know a lot that are passionate about Alzheimer's or cancer research or something like that. There are agency owners out there that love animals like I do. So they have some pro bono clients, but I'm sure they're willing to help give ideas for how can we raise this money? How do we communicate it to our audience, through our newsletter, through our social media, through the media? How can we just level up a little bit so that we can do more good?
What are some of the most common mistakes that you see animal advocates make when they're trying to reach audiences beyond their current supporters? And how can they overcome some of these pitfalls and engage that broader public?
I think I think the two that I most see are organizations that are doing truly amazing things, but they don't know how to tell the story. And they're usually relying on volunteers. The message isn't the same if they have, let's just say they have three volunteers all telling the story. All three of those volunteers might be bugging the local media with different messages, maybe not the right message, and it ends up, you know, dying. Nothing happens with it in the media. The media is just not interested. So I think having cloudy messaging, I think is a mistake. You can have volunteers, you can use your volunteers, but if you do that, I highly recommend having an elevator pitch of what you do, who you do it for, why you serve the animals, why you're trying to help. And that way, everybody's telling that same story. And then even, if you've got a volunteer that can create graphics, make sure that you've got the same types of graphics and you're staying on brand, and that you share those with those passionate volunteer advocates because they can share the same message to the world. And so I think that's probably the biggest mistake I've seen is just relying on volunteers to try to figure it out. And, unless that was their work, full-time work, they might not know how to tell the story.
I know in my own situation that, I start off wanting to tell a positive story, and then the tragedy that's happening every minute of every day seeps in, and I just want to shout it out like, look at this, because surely if you see this, you're not going to participate anymore. But we know that doesn't really work. But so how do you manage when you're saying, keep the story consistent, keep your images the same so that people can trust them. But how do you help people manage that, reality versus, aspiration?
It's so hard because we all want to tell the story about the fur trade and how cruel it is, or animal testing, and we want to show them pictures and videos so they believe it and they see it so they know how bad it is. But that message doesn't resonate with everybody, and sometimes people just want to not look at it. They want to turn a blind eye. So I think what works best is sharing your animal success stories in a positive way and plant the seed that things weren't always that way for that animal. People you'll find will ask more when they're interested. They'll ask, well, what does happen in the lab? And then you could start sharing that story. But I think that most people are off put by things like that, and they're not going to immediately change. Treating animals with respect and compassion is something that everyone thinks they do. They don't want to hear that they're not, or that they're supporting it by, doing business with companies that are hurting animals. They just don't want to hear it.
I saw this cartoon the other day from a friend on Facebook with turkeys, a turkey that had basically a ghost costume on. And the turkeys are asking, why are you doing this? And how long will you keep it up? And the turkey says, until you are dinner on someone's plate. And everyone's laughing. And I'm like, oh, I just commented, this is so sad. It just to me underscores how we think we care, and yet we're still going to be having turkey for Thanksgiving. So there's just, I want to bridge that gap in the worst way.
Yeah, it's hard. And when you kind of figure it out, you want to tell everybody.
You do.
And
You do.
it's really hard to find a common ground. And what I found works best for my family is taking them to see the animals and then softly telling the story of what life was like for them before. And I think that that sanctuaries that are doing that right are telling those individual success stories really well and showing video, showing happy pictures of them. I think those are the ones that people want to donate to, and they want to help that animal.
Okay, that's good advice.
You're listening to Better Life for Animals podcast. Our mission is to amplify the voices of animal advocates, sanctuaries, and changemakers working toward a kinder, more compassionate world. But we can't do it alone. We need your help. First of all, go ahead and subscribe to this channel wherever you're watching or listening. And then get involved by visiting betterlifeforanimals.com. That's betterlifeforanimals.com. Be sure to check out our blog, learn more about incredible sanctuaries, and explore our book section, where 100% of net proceeds from book sales are donated to sanctuaries. Every action you take helps to make a difference. And remember, subscribe to this channel. And now, back to the show.
If you're just joining us, this is Heather Ripley of Orange Orchard PR, and this is Better Life for Animals. Heather, drawing from your success with major media outlets, what practical steps can sanctuaries take to increase their chances of being featured in high-profile publications or mainstream broadcasts?
The best way to do that is to start local. Make sure everybody in your local media market knows who you are and what you do. It can be as simple as emailing the news producers at your local ABC or CBS or Fox, and you tell, based on the audience, you tell a different story. We have had sanctuaries covered on conservative media and liberal media. You tell a different story and you get in. Everybody wants to talk about animals. It's it can be a good, really feel good story. So if you own your local media first, that's going to give you a lot of credibility and authority to build on to get the bigger national stuff. The bigger national media is not going to be the first to write about you. It's the same for the big brands. If you haven't like in the skilled trades, for instance, we tell the skilled trades, you have to own your industry, be talked about in your industry. And we could take that back to animal sanctuaries too and talk about animal sanctuaries in nonprofit publications and philanthropy publications, and then just continue to build on it, build on it. And then ultimately, mainstream media is the goal. And that can come after you start building that momentum of coverage. Plus, it helps you get more media training along the way. You want to practice with your local media, and then when you get the big stage, you'll be ready.
That makes sense. So for those sanctuaries that are struggling with the limited donor bases, what affordable marketing strategies and tactics would deliver immediate impact? And because I know, and I'm sure you'd agree, that it's those recurring donors that are so important. They're the lifeblood to this industry as well as others.
Yeah. I served on the board for several years for a local organization called the Appalachian Bear Rescue.
Okay.
And what we did was we helped orphaned or injured bear cubs. So if the mom got hit by a car or something like that, we would take the bear cubs in and rehabilitate them and get them ready to be released. And we had so many donations, and I'll tell you, the media loved Appalachian Bear Rescue. Anytime they could feature a cub, they would. But we did a really good job with social media too. And we told the story of each new cub that would come in. Um, and people would donate to a specific cub. They would feel some kind of connection to that cub, and they wanted to help that cub be released. And so I say that because I think that organization did a really good job of saying where the money is going. And I think that every nonprofit sanctuary should say that. If you have a farm sanctuary and you have a couple of cows and some sheep and some chickens, being able to steer like what animal that person is passionate about and then get them to commit to some kind of monthly donation for that animal, or eventually they'll open up and say just use it however you see fit. But if you can share those stories on social media and get them engaged with how you're spending the money and thank them. So going back to the Appalachian Bear Rescue, we needed a new pen, a new cage built. And so we said we need, and I'm making this up, we need $80,000 to build this amazing cage. Can we rely on you to help us? The donations came flooding in. And then we took video of the cage. Look how amazing this is. You helped build this. Thank you. So keeping in touch with them over and over, not just when you're asking for money, but give them updates. Thanks to your donation, we were able to do this. And it doesn't have to be expensive mailers or anything. It could be an email newsletter, it could be social media, but having those touch points between the money asks are really good.
So something like a MailChimp.
Yes.
Okay. Well, that's affordable.
Yeah.
So just as an exercise, Heather, if we were to design like a 6 month strategy for a sanctuary that's basically closing their doors, if they don't get some help, what would be your top three priorities to stabilize fundraising and build a foundation for regular committed donors?
If I were called in and the organization said, we're just not raising enough money to keep our doors open, and we're not sure how we're going to feed the animals or get them the care they need or whatever, the first thing I would do is ask to see their plan, kind of like a business plan. What's your plan? How are you currently asking for donations? And quite honestly, if it was 6 months away from closing, I'd scrap everything because it's not working.
Okay.
And I would take a fresh look at it as if it's a business. I mean, you've got overhead. You've got to make sure that you're covering your overhead. The people running it have to eat. So, you have to make sure that this is something that's self-supportive, that can either pay you a salary or allow you to have enough volunteers to run this so you can work. The times that I've seen a sanctuary go under, it was just they took on too much too quickly, too many animals too fast. But I would scrap the communication strategy and start over and use as many free tools as possible. Social media, your database of donors, reach out to them, write a heartfelt letter about what's truthfully going on and why you so desperately need their help. Try to get a monthly recurring donation from them. The one-time donations are great, but we all know that we need money tomorrow, not just today. So if you're able to get that small little commitment and then ask for more later, if you've got $100 a month donation, ask if they might increase it later, but give them a specific reason. We need to build that enclosure. We need to pay for some vet bills. Give them a reason and make people feel like they're paying for a specific thing instead of not knowing where their money's going.
Because it's a good feeling to know that while you can't have a pig as a pet, you can be supporting a pig as an example to have a good life and to get those recurring pictures and maybe even an opportunity to visit someday if you wish,
Yeah.
But then you feel like you're making a difference, just like that Save a Child campaign of decades ago. It's that same idea because people will donate when they feel like they're making a difference.
Yes, if you can adopt Charlie the pig, on a recurring basis, he would appreciate that. Yeah.
Do you feel like people are at their core generous? Do you feel like we are in a difficult time, or do you see a lot of hope?
I I want to believe the best in people. I think that people can be generous. It's a matter of what they're spending their money on, and you're competing with a lot of other things. Y- if you can tug at the heartstrings just enough to make that person feel like they can make a difference with $10, then as if they start making more money, they're going to give you more money. It's hard to keep those lifetime donors nowadays, and especially if you're not sharing news and you're not staying top of mind. We've seen the media stories for our animal clients tremendously increase donations. And the problem is you can't just rely on that one story. You have to keep getting stories over and over and over. We have some clients that are really, really good on YouTube and have really great video content, and they get donations through that. So that's another avenue of kind of a free channel that you can use. But I think that ongoing communication is important, not just the once a year ask, but monthly. And don't always ask for money. Just thank them sometimes. Thank you for your donations. If somebody's donated one time in the past, reach out to them again and just say, thank you for your donation. You helped do this. And they might think, oh gosh, I haven't donated to them in a while. I need to. Here's a check. So any of those touch points can help.
I mean, those work. I know for myself, the ones that, write to me every month and say, look what good we're doing together. Yes, I want to do more. So I hear that. And I do believe that at the heart of it all, we want to do good. We want to care. We have to be, of course, feel like we're you know, taken care of, but we're animals too. So some of it is self-care in order to be able to feel that compassion for something else like an animal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So based on your experience with all these multi-location brands, what lessons can animal welfare organizations learn about scaling their outreach? Maybe optimizing messaging across platforms and inspiring, that consistent community support.
The best thing ever is set goals and write them down. I believe that makes it real. Set financial goals for, where do you want to be 3 months from now? Where would you like to be 12 months from now? Imagine what good you could do if you got 3 times, 5 times the donations that you're doing now. But write those goals down and then work backwards. What do we need to do between here and here to reach, 10 times the growth or help 10 times the animals that we're currently helping? And then create a communications plan. How many donors would we need to support this goal? How many people do we need to reach out to in order to get one donor? If you know the math, you can figure out and scale any nonprofit, any business. It's the same. It comes to numbers and planning and really truly treating it like a business, because that money coming in is just as critical as it is for a business. If you ever have payroll or you need health insurance or something like that, or you need animal vet care or food, it's the same thing. So you've got to have that correct overhead coming in. And I think the best way to do it is look forward, look out into the future, and then work backwards.
Great advice. I just hear over and over again how really this is a business and there are certain things you have to have in place in order to be successful, and all of the heartfelt, desires to help animals will only get you so far. You got to have this in place as well. So if a small sanctuary wanted to reach out to a company such as yours, Heather, could you offer them, like, I don't know, so many hours a month, of advice that might be affordable?
Oh yeah, I talk to animal welfare organizations all the time. They're welcome to reach out to me. The best way is to email me, and we'll set up a time to talk. And I'll just ask questions, and if it's something they can do internally, I'll share that with them. Have you ever tried this? Or have you ever tried that? And maybe they have done press releases, but they weren't written by a professional. So they don't rule that out. Maybe think about, oh, maybe we didn't have the right messaging. Maybe it wasn't the right person writing it. Maybe we didn't reach out to the media in the right way. I'm happy to help and steer some more good work any way I can.
That's wonderful, Heather. We really appreciate that. So tell us how we can find you and tell us how we can help you help us.
Well, thank you. The website is orangeorchardpr.com. I encourage you to follow our blog where we offer some tips and advice on communication. And then just email me, Ripley, like Ripley's Believe It or Not. I'm no relation. But it's HRIPLEY at orangeorchardpr.com.
Before we go, is there any closing thoughts that you want to share with us, Heather?
Just thank you all the listeners. Thank you for the work you're doing, and thank you for helping animals.
Ditto. This has been Heather Ripley of Orange Orchard PR, and I'm Cheryl Moss at Better Life for Animals. And if you've enjoyed this segment, then please like and subscribe so that we can help create a better life for animals.
Thank you for joining us on the Better Life for Animals podcast. Together, we can create a world where all beings are treated with dignity, respect, and care. If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you're listening. It helps us reach more people and spread awareness about the incredible work happening in animal sanctuaries. You can also share this episode with friends and fellow advocates to keep the conversation going. Until next time, keep speaking up, taking action, and making a difference for the animals.